Can we please talk about UFC 253 coming up this weekend? Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa in the main event. Now, first, I'm going to just rewind back to last week. We had, obviously, the fight night between Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley. Really great night of fights. I made some monumentally terrible picks, as is, my MO. But a quick recap of that fight night. Basically, you had Stewart versus Holland in the opening main card bout. Now, Darren Stewart, the dentist, he's a fighter that I really like. He always goes out there, trying to put on a show, and obviously he's English as well, which is I'm super biased in that respect. But I thought that the third round, Stewart looked really good. Stewart absolutely dominated. Kevin Holland said that he ran out of gas, I think, but I do think that it's possible that they should run that one back. I'm not usually a big fan of rematches, but I thought the first round, again, super biased, I thought that Stewart edged the first round, but yeah, it was a split decision, it was really close, and let's be fair, if it had gone one more round, who would have won? Darren Stewart, more than likely. So let's just, even Holland admitted that, Kevin Holland straight away said to Dana White, I don't feel like I won that. We should run that one back. Credit to him. Kevin Holland, huge fan of his as well, by the way. I just think he's a very exciting fighter, and he's fun to watch. And I wouldn't hate seeing that fight again. I'd like to see a more kind of distinct conclusion to that. So yeah, wouldn't hate seeing a rematch there. Khamzat Chimaev. What can I say? Maybe the dude is legit. Maybe he is legit. Wow. See, the thing is that it wasn't just that it was like a first round knockout, because with all due respect to Meerschaert, he's not like the upper echelons of that division, at least not yet. Maybe he could be, but Chimaev shut him down so fast. He's now had 3 fights in the UFC, 3 wins in 66 days. I think it's 3 first round finishes as well, and I think he's absorbed a total of 2 strikes and landed 250 or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. This guy, he might be something really special. I'm not a huge fan of hype trains. I always say that, but wow. What can you say about the guy? That punch? The thing that really struck me about that punch that knocked out Meerschaert was that it was so fast. It was so fast. Just a big straight punch. It was reminiscent to me of when Henry Cejudo knocked out Wilson Hayes. Right? If you go back and watch that fight, he hits him with this absolute pistol of a cross, of a straight right punch. It was so fast you couldn't even see it. The speed looked comparable with Chimaev. That's crazy for a middleweight to be that fast. Because the thing is, Meerschaert saw the punch and he went to try and block it, but it's just his arm physically wouldn't move quick enough to keep up with the speed of the punch coming. That's crazy. That's crazy speed, man. I don't know. Maybe the dude is for real. Maybe. But we haven't seen him fight anywhere near the best of the best yet. But so far so good, right? What can I say? Chimaev, I think you might have won me over, mate. I think I might be buying into the hype. Congratulations, great win. That was unbelievable. I was gobsmacked. I really was. I thought Meerschaert would give him more problems than that. Interested to see who he fights next. I think they're going to try and get him on Fight Island, as far as I'm aware, against Damian Maia. That'd be interesting. See, if he grapples with Damian Maia and then submits Damian Maia, the rocket's in full flight then, isn't it? And it could happen. It could happen. It'd be interesting. In fact, I might put a bet on it, because I don't think Damian Maia's ever been submitted, but I think, looking at how good Chimaev looks, I might be putting the cart before the horse here. So, we'll see what happens. Either way, great performance from Chimaev. Keep your eye on Khamzat Chimaev. I know that a lot of people already have. I did know who he was, and I had my eye on him. I just thought, he'd fought 2 people with absolutely no wrestling and wrestled them. But now he's gone in and absolutely flatlined Mearchart with that punch that was just so fast. I couldn't believe how fast it was. Yeah, that was impressive. Really, really impressive. Yeah, wow. Colby Covington, what can I say? What a great performance. I mean, he beat Tyron Woodley from pillar to post. He beat him mentally. But the thing is, Tyron Woodley, he hasn't really shown up since he fought Darren Till back in 2018. He hasn't shown up. He's just not really been there. He fought the same fight that he has done the past few times. I was listening to Believe You Me, the Michael Bisping podcast, and I thought Michael Bisping had a very astute observation in that he thinks that Tyron needs to get his mind right, and he's absolutely right, because physically, if you look at him physically, he's still there. Although maybe he isn't. I mean, if his ribs are breaking, maybe that's a sign that his body isn't quite as resilient as it used to be. I mean, he is now nearly 40. But I mean, I think the main thing, I think Michael Bisping is absolutely right. I think the main thing that is making him struggle at the moment is his mind. He doesn't seem to have his mind there. Maybe he needs to visit a sports psychologist and then take some time off, get hungry again, and then come back, and if he still wants to fight, because he must be making so much from TMZ and places like that. He doesn't really need to fight anymore. Come on, let's be real. He's a household name, and he's probably got plenty of irons in the fire. But I don't think he needs to go out just to get flatlined by people, because I mean, Colby did run over him as well, and I thought the finish was coming, because I mean, that was the only bet that I had on that I thought was really unlikely. I did have a Colby finish at 5-1, and I thought that was super unlikely, really. But I mean, that claw, but I lost all my other bets, so I think I still broke out down, but not down as much as I would have been had Colby not got that finish. I think Colby, with respect, like a lot of people saying, does it count as a real finish? And I would say yes, it does, because I mean, I think that Colby was cruising towards a finish anyway. He'd gotten him down, it was early in the round, and he'd already beaten the crap out of him in the last round. I think that he was going to get towards that finish. So Colby Covington looked fantastic. I'd love to see him against Masvidal next, if they don't do the Diaz 2 fight. I would really like to see a rematch with Usman, because that fight was really close. Up until the fifth, when it got stopped, he was giving Usman all that he could handle, and it was a great back and forth fight. It was a fight I'd watch every week, and someone was disputing that with me on one of the UFC Facebook groups, actually, and he was just, oh well, how did you have it 2-2 going into the fourth, going to the fifth? Are you a judge? It's like, no, I'm not a judge, but I actually got the judge's scorecard from the night and posted that. One of the judges had it 3-1 to Colby. So yeah, I'm not a judge, but those were the judges, and the scorecards had it very, very close. And I'm not imagining that. It was a very competitive fight, and I would look forward very much to seeing it again. Sit down, LeBron James. All right, sit down. Like what he's calling out Colby. I don't think he even understands what Colby would do to him in an MMA fight. Come on now. Right? I don't know what LeBron's wrestling credentials are, but I mean, I know he is 6'9" and he's like 260 pounds, right? And a lot of people have been putting these side by side pictures up, but some of them are Photoshop, man. Colby would grab a single leg and throw him onto the floor so fast, and he would just stay on top of him and ground and pound it. Because the thing is, if you haven't wrestled before, if you haven't grappled before, let me tell you, it's real. If you don't know what it's like to be there, it is really, really unpleasant. Because you're on your back, you've got someone on top of you that knows what they're doing, and you can't breathe. You can't even breathe, right? Because I've got very limited experience in grappling. I've done the training here and there just because I enjoy it. I like to keep fit, but because I know what it's like to be there, I get dominated by anybody that knows what they're doing. But you see the people that have never done it. It's like I've seen them submit just from being put on their back, and they can't breathe, man. So I know that LeBron is an elite athlete, but he hasn't wrestled. I don't know what his experience is in that regard. And I just feel like, if he was to have an MMA fight against Colby Covington, Covington would just grab a single leg, grab one of those big old long legs, he would drag him down to the floor, and it would be a really easy night of work. So stick to basketball, LeBron. You're a great basketball player, and you're an elite level athlete. You ain't beating Colby Covington in an MMA fight. I'll tell you that. Tell you that now. Not happening. Not happening. But yeah. Moving on. MMA news. My good buddy Robbie Lawler is back in the news again because apparently they've booked him a new fight. And it's a fight that I'm a fan of. He is going to be fighting Platinum Mike Perry. Now, Mike Perry, he's had all kinds of problems lately. He's been beating up old people in bars. He's been dodging tax left, right and centre. Fair play to you, mate. I would as well. Do you know what I mean? But I like Platinum Mike Perry. I really do because, you know what? He's a real fighter. He's a brute. He will fight you anywhere. He will fight you in a bar because he's not smart enough to know that ain't good for his career. Do you know what I mean? Anybody who's got platinum tattooed above their eyebrows probably not got great prospects outside of throwing fists. So it's a good job he is good enough to be in the UFC because otherwise he would probably be in prison. All due respect, to Platinum. And that's why I like him though. He's so exciting. He will either win devastatingly or lose spectacularly. That's what I like about Platinum Mike Perry. He really goes balls to the wall. He will leave it all in there. He will give everything to win, and he will either win or he will lose. But he will give it his all. You won't see a lackluster performance from Platinum Mike Perry. And as much as I hate to say it, of late we have seen some lackluster performances from Robbie Lawler. He hasn't looked like his ruthless self, and yeah, I would be surprised if Lawler wasn't an underdog going into this, but stylistically, I like the fight for Lawler, because if it turns into a brawl, that's what Lawler likes to do. So, if Lawler comes in as an underdog, I'll probably have a go on Lawler. Well, but I really want Lawler to win, because I'm a big fan of his anyway. But I'll probably have Lawler in that one, because, if it turns into a brawl, that's where he wants to be, where he wants to be. But either way, that's not till UFC 255. Allegedly, let's have a look at UFC 253 that's coming up this weekend. Obviously, we have got two huge fights here. The co-main event, we've got Dominic Reyes, title challenger for John Jones, who a lot of people say won that fight. I don't believe that he did win that fight. I thought the third round was close enough that you could score it to John Jones. And then the second two rounds, it was clear that Jones won those ones. So to say that it was a robbery is just ridiculous. I do think that there is such a thing as championship advantage, because in order to take that belt, you have to better the champion. You can't just do as well as the champion. Do you know what I mean? Because really, they both won 2.5 rounds each. In a lot of ways, maybe it should have been a draw, but in a draw, Jones will keep the belt because you can't lose the belt on a draw. So, in that, any round that I think is a complete coin toss, I do tend to side with the champion because you have to beat the champion. You have to take it. And Reyes didn't do that. So, it wasn't a robbery. And he's not the uncrowned champion, but he might be the champion after this weekend. He is fighting Jan Blachowicz. Now, Blachowicz, I really like Blachowicz, right? He's got some real power, right? Blachowicz, we've got the odds up here, okay? He is 3.25 to get the win, which I think is a tad disrespectful, if I'm totally honest. I think that Reyes probably should be the favourite, but not that heavily. Never that heavily. Not a guy who has got lights out power like Blachowicz. You've got the knockout at 5.5. That I'm going with. I've starred that because that is what I am going with. I'm putting a bet on that. Submission, 9s. You've got decision at 9s as well. But I think Blachowicz has got really great power, especially in the clinch. We've got Dominic Reyes as well, as you can see. 1.36. Heavy favourite. I don't think he should be that heavy of a favourite. Don't get me wrong, he should be the favourite. Reyes is good. And from a technical standpoint, he probably should win this fight. But knockout's 2.2, you've got submission at 13, you've got decision at 3.10, right? Now, like I say, Reyes should probably be the favourite, because from a technical standpoint, he probably should be better in every area, on paper. But these things don't play out on paper. right? The fight game is not played on paper. And Blachowicz, right, he has got some scary power, especially in his short punches, right? You know, he's so strong, and he's got like I said, just ridiculous one punch power. He's got that gift where if he touches you, he can put you out on any given night, right? And especially from the clinch, I just feel like if they get into a clinch situation on the break, Reyes is going to really have to watch his P's and Q's, because if he lets Blachowicz land a short shot, then it could be lights out, and that's what I'm. And my gut tells me that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. I think Blachowicz by knockout. And we've also got the main event, one of the most anticipated UFC middleweight title fights in recent memory. Israel Adesanya, 19-1, the champion, taking on the challenger, Paulo Costa, 13-0. Sorry, I do apologise. 19-0, Israel Adesanya. I don't know what I'm saying there, because the whole point of this is that someone's O has got to go. We've got two unbeaten fighters fighting for the belt. That is rare. That's a real rarity. So this is a special fight. Special fight. You need to make sure, if you're a UFC fan, you are tuning into this fight, because it is Israel's technical prowess versus the brawn and brawling just power of Paulo Costa. So we have got the odds up here. We've got Israel Adesanya to win 1.57. That's fair. Knockout 2.38. Again, fair. I'm starring that one because that's what I think is going to happen. Submission 17s. You've got the decision at 4-1. You've got Costa to win 2.38. That's not unreasonable, right? Knockout 3.25. Again, that's pretty fair. Submission 21. Okay. Now I am starring that one because he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is a black belt. That means he knows how to tap people out. So I think that 21-1. That's definitely worth a little cheeky go. But it's worth a quid or something. Come on, roll the dice. The decision is 8-1 now. I don't think it's going to go to a decision, because I personally think that Israel Adesanya, it's going to play out on the feet, I would imagine, because Costa's never really shown much inclination to take the fight to the floor, and also Israel Adesanya's takedown defense is underrated. I think his takedown defense is actually very good, and I think Israel on the feet, he is so technically good. He is going to avoid the big looping punches of Costa. I think he's just going to pick him apart, if I'm totally honest. Because what's Costa, right? He's got a lot of hype coming into this because he's got the aesthetic, right? He looks like an absolute beast, right? And he looks fantastic. But against Yoel Romero, I don't think he looked unbelievable. I thought that was a close fight, way closer than when Israel picked Yoel apart. But as boring as people say that fight was, it was a masterclass from Israel Adesanya in how to avoid getting knocked out by a very dangerous power puncher and just make sure that you leave with the belt at the end of the night. That was a masterclass in that. But you look at who has Costa really beaten? Who has he really beaten? He's managed to get his way to a title shot by beating who? Hendricks? Johnny Hendricks, an overblown welterweight who was basically retired anyway. Uriah Hall, who either turns up or doesn't. I like Uriah Hall. I want to see him do well because he landed that big spinning back kick in the Ultimate Fight at that time. That was one of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen. But he either turns up or he doesn't. And a lot of time he doesn't. Then he beat Yoel Romero in a close back and forth fight. And then you look at the run that Israel's been on. Tavares, Brunson, Silva, Gastelum, Whittaker, Yoel, and that is some list. That is a ridiculous list of fighters. That is some resume. Obviously he's the favourite, so people know how good Israel is, but a lot of people are picking Costa in this one, saying, he's going to knock Israel out. I don't see it. I think that Israel is too technical, he's too good, he's too fast, he's too elusive. He is going to pick Israel Adesanya apart, and he's going to pick Paulo Costa apart. I do apologise. Israel Adesanya by knockout. I'm taking that 2.38, and I am going to put that together with my other prediction because I love a good long odds terrible bet. We've got Israel Adesanya knockout, Blachowicz by the knockout, what do you have if you put those things together? Yeah, it's a terrible bet. 13.06. But both of them to get the knockout. That is the main bet that I'm making this weekend. I think that's got a good chance of coming off. But it is terrible because obviously picking the outcome is always asking for trouble because there's always the MMA is just so unpredictable. But I'm going to do it. This is an incredible fight card. It's got some really cracking fights on it, especially the co-main and the main. And yeah, we'll have a look and see if any of this pans out next week. Until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.